Good morning, everyone. So, today, remember that we have Brothers in Hope. This is a story of the lost boys of Sudan. Just a parenthesis, guys, whenever we're talking about a story, is something that people have written. About history is something that already happened. Just to remind you guys that we are working in stories, not in histories, okay? Just keep in mind with that. So before we start, I would like you to read First Peter 4 12 13. In other words, guys, remember that whatever you're doing, anything that you have in your mind, the ways you're taking in your life, all the time, God is going to be there. And He's going to be trying us. And He's just going to make it just to make you wobble us. Um, why? Because He wants to make sure the beliefs that you have on Him, and anything that happened in your life, you have to just be glad and feel of joy, and remember that whatever you're doing, just do it like if you're doing to Him, like if you're making anything just to glad Him, because that's the way it is. So just keep it in mind, guys, and just think about it. Just read it, think about it, and give your idea about it. What do you think of this? Okay, so now we have biographical fiction. What is a biographical fiction? Remember that this biographical fiction is based on what the writers um, wants to tell you, but they are transmitting these ideas, uh, including real people, real places, real events, and some ideas that might come from history, and just convert this in a story, something that you might visualize whenever you're reading, and some pictures that will help you to understand the characters, the settings, and the action of the story to life. So practically you are bringing this type of biographical fiction is like if you are making some moments of life, you're making them in fiction, and you're trying to translate people information with these with these type of stories, whether you're having these real life events becoming in some stories. Remember that some of the stories that you are creating, not all of them are real, and some of them are real and are based on something that already happened. So this biographical fiction, as it says in here, you are including real people, places, and events from to make it become part of the story you are creating. I really hope you are understanding so far. So this, it says, this is the example that we have in the book, practically on page 226. So it says, when I turned 8 years old, I began to tend some small calves of my own. I cleaned them, nursed them when they were sick, and led them to the very best pastures and watering holes. I quickly grew to love these animals. So, if you see here, this is a part of the story that might not be real, but I became that real by having the age when I was 8 years old. Like this story actually, I did it. Like if I when I was years old, I was practically taking some calls and just becoming like the mother of them, and I was nursing them, and I was just giving the best to them in order to help them to grow. So remember that in this one, this story practically you are including events in biographical fiction are usually written in chronological order. Remember that for this you have to have an order. In any of the stories that you are going to create, you have to give an order of what you are creating. And in this situation, it is telling you that something started when I was 8 years old, and then step by step I was moving by took the small cows, then I cleaned them, then I nursed them, and even when they were sick, then I got them to pastures, and practically I love these animals. So you see, this is giving us a chronological order. Some of the questions that we might have related with the story of Brothers in Hope will be: are all the boys from the same biological family? What do you think about it? What do you think the title means? Why do you think the illustrator chose the colors that he used? So, practically, these are some of the questions that you might have when you see the cover of the book on page 227. So for this, you're getting ready just in order to make your introduction. So on the manual, it says that you have to create 8 slides presentation about what did you understand of the story. First step that we're going to do is the following. The first step is that you are going to prepare your document and start with an introduction. With this introduction, you can use the previous questions that we have before. You can use these questions just in order to do your introduction. It says that you can use Prezi, but remember, guys, it's not necessary to use only Prezi. That is the option that I'm giving you. But if for you it's better to use Canva, use Canva. If you want to use PowerPoint, use PowerPoint. If you want to use Word, use Word. And if you want to use your notebook, well, do your notebook. But remember, try to be creative as much as you can. After, in the second step, you are going to read the story of Brothers in Hope. You're going to read this information, and you have to use 6 slides to make a summary of what you read. Remember that a summary is something short that you are going to talk about about the story that you previously read. And in this summary, you're just putting the most important information that took your attention. And instead of making 7 pages of summary, because when you're doing 7 pages of that, that means that you're copying. In this situation, I want you to try to reduce the information in 6 slides and try to be creative also. Try not to add that much information. Just take the 6 most important parts of the story and write them in here. And then the third step, it says that you have to add an extra slide. So practically you're going to have 8 slides at the end of the presentation. And you're going to make a short conclusion about the reading with 3 comments about the story, comparing it with real life situation nowadays. So, based on what you know in real life about what Brothers in Hope are actually talking about, you're going to make this comparison chart. You can use the comparison chart that we know as the Venn diagram, or you can use the T chart to compare what happened in the book with real life. So I really hope this have helped you guys, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate and contact me. Send me a message through Cloud Campus or through Edmodo. The way you're going to send the work, well, I'm requesting you to use Edmodo, but if there is any problem, so we can use an alternative way to send all the work. And practically, the first step is to send the work. Please don't forget to send your work, guys. This is part of your classwork, as I know this situation is being complicated for all of us, but try to send everything that you're working, guys. Try not to have a lot of work at the end of everything, because then you're gonna be missing some of your scores and of some of your grades, and then you have to do a lot of extra work. So please try to work on this, guys, and have a great day. Bye.